Eternals is now out in theaters for everyone to see, and it holds a ton of surprises, Easter eggs, and MCU connections both in its ending and in its post-credit scene. So today I'm going to be explaining it all to you and what do they mean for the future of the franchise. Before we keep going with this video, make sure you have seen Eternals when you watch this, because we're going to be talking about all the spoilers there are to talk about in the ending and in the post-credit scene, and you don't want to be spoiled. You want to witness it all for yourself, and make sure you add your own theories and little Easter eggs that you saw in the comments below. Start the conversation, keep it eternal. And of course, if you enjoy what you see here and want to see more videos like this, make sure you click that subscribe button so you do not miss any future MCU conversations on your favorite movies and TV. So let's start with the very ending, where Dane Whitman and Cersei are together talking about the events of the film and the certain reveals that were new to them, and Dane Whitman himself teases a little bit that he has a complicated family history, which opens the doors already for his future of the MCU. But of course, Cersei is whisked away by Arishem, who returns and takes her, Kingo, and Stripe. They completely negated the birth of a Celestial, even though Kingo wasn't even there in the climax of the film, so he's not at fault whatsoever. But he takes them away, he's going to examine their memories and come back with a judgment from Earth. What's also interesting with Arishem is that no, the pops are not for sale over here in the UK, and I want to have them in the background for my Eternals video, and I have no shot at getting them because they are not for sale anywhere. What is wrong with you, Amazon, HMV, Forbidden Planet, Zavi, and every other online store? What is really interesting with the Celestials in this film is that the film plays very well with the sense of scale. They are so huge. Tiamut's hand was bigger than the entire sphere of the planet as he was born. As we see the preview of his birth in the film, he's bigger than the entire planet Earth. So this could also be our way of introducing the Galactus. He could be introduced as a Celestial in the MCU. If the Eternals in the future, and we'll get to the post-credit scene and how it connects to this ending in a bit, if he comes back to pass judgment on the Earth and decides to destroy it, and then let's say the Eternals stop him, Galactus could be a Celestial that comes in to avenge his Celestial brother after he's fallen, to destroy the Earth, to consume it instead of making it give birth to another brother. I think it's very interesting that the Celestials in this film are as big and are very present still in present day, and we could see a connection between them and Galactus. But of course, that's not the only connection that we could see in the future franchise of the Eternals, but we'll talk about that in a little bit when we get to that first post-credit scene. Nevertheless, let's go into that last post-credit scene that at first really blew my mind. Because we're talking about Dane Whitman, his complicated family history, and his history with a powerful ebony blade. Which takes us right away into the final post-credit scene, the one that surprised me the most, as Dane Whitman goes to his office and he opens this case that inside holds the ebony blade. Now, in the comics, the ebony blade is a powerful blade that has been used by Black Knights throughout history. Dane Whitman is the Black Knight, but he's not the only Black Knight. Throughout history, his ancestors have held that blade. Some were good, some were bad, because the ebony blade is actually a sword that has a curse on it, and this curse has changed throughout the history of Marvel Comics. It was one thing in the past, but I believe they are going to go with the most recent origin, that it holds the curse of bloodlust. The more it is used by its user, the more violent, the more evil they become, the more they succumb to their primal instincts of violence. And as Dane Whitman is hesitating in picking up the blade, it looks like it has these little hair things look like on it, and they're being attracted to Dane Whitman. I think this could very well be an adaptation for the film where it kind of holds the bloodlust or even the souls of former Black Knights or former family members of Dane Whitman that maybe are more evil than he is. And maybe there's a struggle that will ensue inside Dane Whitman, an inner conflict for him where he's being teased and seduced by the darkness of the Ebony Blade and by the power that it holds, and he has to become violent and evil to unleash its true power. I think it can be really interesting, and the little phrase that says that death is his reward, I think that leans into more of the bloodlust side of the curse in the comics. But of course, that's not the big thing. The big thing that made me yell holy shit, the final single moment in this post-credit scene, is that a voice off screen asks, "Are you ready, Mr. Whitman?" And this blew my mind because I did not expect Jeffrey Wright's The Watcher to be introduced into the live-action MCU. Even though we don't see him, we hear his voice, and it is distinctively Jeffrey Wright's The Watcher speaking, or so I thought. Because ever since coming out of the Eternals, an interview has come out on Fandom where Chloe Zhao herself confirms that this is actually Mahershala Ali's Blade speaking. This isn't as exciting as The Watcher would be for me. I don't see the infinite possibilities that I would see. I don't see how Blade can help Dane Whitman with the struggles of the Eternals as they are taken away by Arishem. Blade is interesting, it's cool, it's a character I cannot wait to see in the MCU, especially played by Mahershala Ali, but I really don't know where this takes Dane Whitman from now on. I don't really see Blade being very involved with the Eternals, where I expected Dane Whitman to be involved thoroughly with the Eternals and their struggles and their story going forward. So this is clearly setting up something else, a more underground side of new heroes of the MCU, and of course Blade is probably going to show up in Moon Knight, so maybe we also see Kit Harington's Black Knight in there as well as he finally picks up that sword. And given that we're going with the belief that the Ebony Blade is holding the ancestors and the bloodlust of the ancestors of Dane Whitman, it probably really connects to Moon Knight, who himself is holding a lot of mental struggles due to the god Khonshu. But that's not the only post-credit scene we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the other one, maybe even bigger than this one, given that it's Blade and not the Watcher that is in this. We catch up in space on the Domo with Thena, Makari, and Druig, who are suddenly invaded in their ship by Pip the Troll. I cannot believe that we live in a world where Pip the Troll is in a live-action movie voiced by Patton Oswalt, and he introduces Star Fox. As any good hype man would do, he lists all of his great accomplishments, presents him as the brother of Thanos, which is very interesting because we did not introduce Thena or refer to Thena at all throughout this film as the cousin of Thanos, but Star Fox does seem to be familiar with her. Now, in the comics, Star Fox, much like in the movie, according to Pip the Troll, is the brother of Thanos. And why do they look different? Well, I think it's very interesting because even though we never referred to Thanos as a deviant in the film, Thanos in the comics does look purple and huge and not human because he has a deviant gene in him, while Star Fox doesn't. He is an Eternal, and he presents himself as an Eternal in this film, which I think is extremely interesting because immediately connects him to these heroes, makes him a part of the team, and he has this fear that he says will take him to the rest of the Eternals that they are looking for across the universe. What makes things even more interesting is that if Thanos has that deviant gene in the films, with Star Fox being an Eternal, his brother, this could mean that Thanos' plan of eradicating half the universe could have been his way to try and stop the Celestials from destroying more planets. Because as established in Eternals, the Celestials overpopulate worlds to the point where a new Celestial can be birthed, feeding off of the energy of overpopulation. Thanos might have been right all along with his plan of eradicating half of existence, so no planet would be populated enough to give birth to a new Celestial and therefore be destroyed. I find this notion and this possibility fascinating. This could also mean that Star Fox is not necessarily a nemesis of Thanos in the films, but just sees, like the Avengers, another way of getting around this plan of the Celestials, and that is why he's here to reunite all the Eternals so they can fight Arishem and any other Celestial that opposes them. And the possibilities with this one are endless, because in the comics, Pip the Troll is not really known for hanging out a lot with Star Fox. He's more known for hanging out with Adam Warlock. So could Adam Warlock himself in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 be an Eternal? I think this post-credit scene is very exciting. It immediately thrusts us into the future of the Eternals. It connects us to the ending of the film itself, and it gives them a sense of direction on where they are going next. They were just looking for Eternals, expecting to see if they had any luck finding them, but now they have that little sphere, they have a guide in Star Fox, which, look, I'm not very happy that Harry Styles has been cast as Star Fox, but hey, I just hope we can make the best out of a not so good situation right now. And so those are the connections that I saw in the post-credit scenes of the Eternals. With the ending, I think Thena, Druig, Makari, and Star Fox are now going after Arishem and saving the rest of the Eternals that were taken away. And hopefully we will see more of them sooner rather than later. And so those are my thoughts on the post-credit scenes, the Easter eggs, and the future MCU connections that we could see. We just launched two different franchises right here, the future of the Eternals and whatever Blade and the Black Knight are going to be doing together, which again, I thought completely that was the Watcher. That's on me. Chloe Zhao herself corrected me, so I have no reason to doubt her. What did you notice on those scenes? Anything that I missed, let me know in the comments below. Keep the conversation going. Make it eternal, and make sure you go watch the film if you haven't yet and you saw this video. Thank you anyway, but I'm sorry I spoiled everything for you. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back very soon with yet one more Eternals video, and I hope to see you in that. And remember, if you enjoyed what you saw here, make sure to click that subscribe button so you do not miss any future conversations about your favorite movies and TV. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.